Welcome back to Split the Party. Today I'm going to show you the actual playthrough of Magic Arena of the Planeswalkers. Now I've broken down what you saw before. We're just playing a two-player game to make it a little easier, take a little bit less time. I also picked two of the Planeswalkers that are a little bit less complicated. Nissa attacks twice. Her guys, she's actually not quite that complicated, but I chose these two. Jace bounces around the board and can control things. The white is constantly healing, can make the game take longer. I took all three of those out. We're just playing black, who is going to try and not only eradicate cards in the green's hand, but also deal damage to them, possibly bring their zombies back. And green, they just want to go over there and either plug arrows into these guys or pummel them with the pummel root elementals. So in this corner we have Nissa. In this corner we have Liliana Vess. When you're playing the game, a lot of things are going to be really familiar to playing Magic. So real quick, I want you to just look at a Planeswalker card. Now, whether you're playing a Planeswalker or whether you're using the Planeswalker or one of the squads, the cards are all laid out in the same way. There are a few key features. You'll have the picture with the name above it. You'll have the card type, much like you would in Magic, where it says Planeswalker Nissa. Then you have a diagram. You'll notice in the diagram there's a little green dot. You might not be able to see it, but it's right in the middle of her forehead because that's where she draws her target from. If there's ever a question about line of sight, for instance, when using terrain like this, you draw the line of sight from the green spot on the card, wherever that happens to be, to the target. Now, the target, you can, as long as you can target any of the dark gray areas. You'll notice with Nissa, her staff is light gray. It's not targetable. If you hit it, you're not going to do any damage to her, so it doesn't matter. So you have to be able to actually physically see one of the dark gray parts on that figure over there. Otherwise, you can't target them. And you'll have a number of different terrains. The base set comes with 2 different pieces of terrain. There are a few different pieces of the elevatable terrain here. More obviously will come out, and like any other tactical miniatures game, you're free to build your own and place it out there. So you will be using line of sight. So that's the first part here. Then we have life, hit points, life, how much of a whooping you can take before you fall down. Nissa, for instance, has 7 life. When she has taken 7 points of damage, she's dead. You have your movement. Nissa's is 5, and then your range, hers is 7. If you have a range of 1, you can only attack in melee, just the people around you. Otherwise, you can attack. She can attack 7 spaces out. Then you'll see the 2 here with the sword and the shield. That should be very familiar to Magic players. It's your power and toughness. The difference is that in this game, those represent dice. If you have a 3 power, then when attacking someone, you roll 3 dice. And if they had a 4 toughness, like Nissa does, they would roll 4 dice. And what you're looking at, oh, that's unfortunate. What you're looking at is, for power, you want swords. Nissa had 3, and then for defense, you want shields. You compare the number between the 2, and for every sword left over, you deal 1 point of damage. Whoever it was that Nissa just took a swing at, she took a piece out of them. So that's the basic combat mechanics. After that, at the bottom here, you're going to see your ability text. She has Keen Sight. Each green creature you control with a range of 2 or more that is within 4 clear sight spaces of Nissa gets +2 range. So she basically just gives her units that are already ranged better range. And then also sprint. At the end of Nissa's turn, you may move her up to 3 spaces. Now the reason it says Nissa's turn is on each of your turns, you're going to pick one of these cards. That's who you're activating that turn. You're either activating Nissa or the pummel root elementals or the elf rangers. They'll be the ones moving. They'll also be the ones attacking. If it is Nissa's turn, she's actually acting, then she can move an additional 3 spaces at the end of that. Now you'll also notice that you have a deck of cards here. These are your spell cards. They come in sorceries and enchantments. The enchantments are either enchantment auras, which get placed out face up, and you can see what effect they'll have on whichever squad they are placed on, whether it be friendly or opposing, or hidden enchantments. Hidden enchantments go underneath the card face down and will have an effect. They'll tell you when they trigger and what the trigger effect is. One of them, for instance, in green is fog. When you've seen the instant card, I'm sure, in Magic the Gathering, when they're attacked, you reveal fog, they take no damage, and then you destroy fog. So everyone starts by drawing three cards into their hand. I've already done that. They also make sure you've got your squad and unit cards laid out and your units together. Now, the Pummelroot Elementals and Elf Rangers are both squads, as are the Restless Zombies and Blighted Reavers. As a squad, that means that using the one card, you'll get the 3 units with it. On the board here, again, I've got a terrain piece. I also have some elevated terrain. Now, what this means is when moving over it, you move not only 1 to get in, but also 1 to go up. So this costs you 2 movement going here. Now, falling down, going down, it's you don't take any elevation space movement. You just use 1 to move laterally. You can do that as long as it is within your height range, and the height range is represented on the bottom left of each of the characters. It'll say, for instance, medium 4, medium 5. The number itself, the 4 or the 5, that's your height range. That is how many pieces of these elevations. So if I had all these stacked up, and that's 3 right there, anyone who had a height of 3 wouldn't be able to see or target over this. Anyone who has a 4 or higher can. So we'll place these back. Now, again, you can target over things that are lower than your height. You can also drop from heights lower than your height without taking damage. Once it gets to your height or higher, then you start taking damage as you fall. On the board, you're also going to see 4 tiles. Now, I don't know if you can see this one back here. I'll turn these all around so that they're visible to the camera. There are 3 that are permanent as long as you have someone on them, and then there's 1 that is just when you step on it. So toughness, movement, and power. If you have a unit, any one of your units, any one of your figures on the power, the movement, or the toughness, then everyone in your army gets that bonus. So you'll get either +1 power, +1 toughness, or +2 to your movement. As long as you have a figure that remains on there, everyone in the army gets that effect. Knowledge is different. Knowledge, every time you step on knowledge, you get to draw a card. Every time. So it's not a step on there and every turn you get to draw another card. It's I stopped on knowledge, I get to draw a card. Next turn I can move over here and somebody else maybe moves on there or something and I get to draw a card. But you only draw 1 for ending your turn on knowledge. These red cubes are used to track your hit point damage, and then this little guy is just a little cardboard cutout is used to track rounds, because in some of them there's a capture the flag mode, there is a king of the hill mode, and in this game a lot of times they count things by rounds. So you'll play, for instance, 30 rounds of the game, and at the end of that everything's over, so you track it with this. We're not going to do that right now because I'm not playing long enough to need a round tracker. I just wanted to put it out here to show you. So to start out, your first round, you'll notice that I don't have any figures on except for the Planeswalkers. On your first turn, or on any turn, you can place up to 2 units you control, up to 2 squads you control, each figure within 5 spaces of you. So, Nissa's going to go first, and she's going to, starting with the Pummelroot Elementals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm actually going to place this out here because you're not supposed to be able to start on a tile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5. And then I'm going to put these 3 right over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Now, water, I will get to in just a moment once I've placed the undead on the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oop. So water is a limiting factor in movement, much like it is in any other miniatures game. When you move into water, your turn stops. It doesn't matter if you're standing right here and you've got a movement of 45. When you step right here, your turn is done. Moving out of water costs 1 extra space of movement because water is considered to be an elevation level lower. So that's also something you have to keep in mind when drawing targets, when dropping into water from elevation. For instance, if this were much higher, you don't ever take damage from dropping down into water, so I guess that isn't a consideration. But for targeting, anyone standing here, this is actually 2 elevations up, even though it's only 1 elevation from the ground, because water is 1 down. So when you walk into water, you stop. When you're coming out of water, it costs you 1 extra. Moving through water is the same pace. So we've got all of our, we don't have all of our units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here, we'll put those guys there. And he's turned around the wrong way. He's a little confused. Zombies aren't very bright. Okay. Now you have your spell cards. And actually, you would have, at the beginning of your turn, you draw a spell card, so they each would have drawn one. You place your units on the board. Everybody can place before the game starts. Then you choose, do I want to use Nissa, the Pummelroot Elementals, or the Elf Ranger? I'm going to use Nissa because she's fun and she's ranged. So I'm going to start by moving her closer. I want to get her close to these archers because, again, she's going to give them more range. So I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4. Now she's, let's see, they have to be in how many? Yeah, 4. She's going to get eventually up behind these Pummelroot Elementals because they're beefy. But for right now, I'm going to move her right there. I'm going to just slide this here to remind myself. Now, you can play cards regardless of who you've activated. You can play cards before you move, and you can play cards before you attack. The only time you can't play cards is if your Planeswalker is dead. Losing your Planeswalker doesn't necessarily lose you the game, but it does mean that you don't have anybody who can cast spells anymore. So, I have moved her up there. I am going to cast Groundswell before attack. A Planeswalker you control gets +3 attack until the end of the turn. I only control one, so we're going to go ahead and use that for Nissa. I'm going to place this in my discard pile. So she now has a power of 6, and she is going to shoot that zombie right there. Now, restless zombies only have one shield. So I'm rolling 6 against 1, and they only have a life of 1. This is actually kind of mean. I'm not even. I'll roll it just for this one. Yeah. So that guy's dead. He goes away. I'll give you a little spoiler alert. Liliana's just going to bring him back. That's part of what she does. So Nissa has moved. She has attacked. She has completed her turn. That's it. We come over here to Liliana. Now, she's got her guys on the board. I already drew her extra card. She's going to take a look at what we've got here. And I'm actually going to use, I don't have anyone with any range, which was poor planning on my part, except for Liliana, because I have to cross this water, and that's really bad news for everybody. So I'm going to use Liliana again, or I'm going to use Liliana as well. She has a movement of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and she's going to get right up here because she needs to. And from there, now she has zombie toughness. All zombies that she controls within 4 clear spaces, sight spaces of her, get +1 shield. Unfortunately, that didn't cover this guy. He was a little too far away. And snuff out. She can destroy target squad creature that has 1 or more damage markers and is within 6 clear sight spaces of Liliana. Use this ability once per turn. So once a turn, if there's somebody out there who's damaged and they're within 6 clear spaces of her, she snuffs them out. Just that one's dead. That's really nasty. So she's going to get up here, and she's going to target this Pummelroot Elemental. And with her 4, she just needs to get 1 through. That's it, and then she can snuff him out. He's got a 3 toughness. We're rolling. It's 2 to 1. She does a single point of damage, and I'm going to go ahead and use that snuff out ability, and he's dead. So we've gone through 1 turn. Both of my Planeswalkers have moved up. They've taken out some of the competition. Nissa didn't have a really hard time taking out the zombie. Liliana would have had a little bit harder time taking out a Primordial Element or Pummelroot Elemental with 3 hit points, but she only has to get 1 through and then they're dead. So she did. She just killed those guys. Now, I'm going to go ahead and stop the playthrough there because we're going to move. Everybody's going to get stuck in this water here. It's going to slow things down. You've kind of seen how the combat goes. When you're going through, one of the things that I really, really enjoy about this game is how the flavor comes out in the cards and in the characters. I just wanted to kind of let you hear some of the cards. Titanic Growth, for instance. A creature you control within 6 clear sight spaces of a green Planeswalker that you control gets +3 until the end of the turn. Or Overrun. It's even got the art from Magic's Overrun. Until end of turn, a squad you control gets +2 power and trample while attacking adjacent figures. Now, on here, they do, for people who have not played Magic, they do explain trample. While attacking, if this creature would assign enough damage to destroy a defending figure, you may have it assign the rest of its damage to a figure adjacent to the defending figure. Now, that's a little different than the card game. Obviously, since you don't have a collective life pool, things had to be a little different. So if I'm moving along with a Pummelroot Elemental and I hit this guy and I kill him, I get to deal damage to that one because he's adjacent. So, you've got a number of the same keywords, but they do act differently because this isn't a card game. This isn't a game where you've got 20 hit points, I've got 20 hit points, and we're just racing to the bottom. We're actually seeing how the creatures that are being summoned by these planeswalkers are interacting. Like I said in the review, I think Hasbro did a really good job with this game. They've brought out the flavor and the cards really well. One of the cards in here, where is it at? Dark Harvest. Dark Harvest can enchant only a single squad that you control. When you enchant a squad with Dark Harvest, destroy one of the creatures in that squad, and then the rest get +3. That's extremely black. Black loves to do that kind of stuff. I'm going to blow this guy up. He's going to stand right next to you and blow up, and the splinters are going to do 4 damage to you. Or I'm going to blow this guy up, and he's going to make the rest of them better. Or there's a lot of discarding cards. They're making your opponents discard cards. It plays like the black color plays in Magic the Gathering. This plays like green. When you're playing Chandra, you are constantly throwing fireballs. Your creatures are fairly expendable, but they attack fast. White is very protective and heals a lot. Blue is frustrating because you almost have to ask permission to do things on your turn, and they're teleporting around. It's like playing Magic the Gathering, except you get to see what the battles look like. I really hope that you guys will give this game a shot. I hope that they continue to do as well with the expansions as they've done in the base game. I'm really looking forward to continuing to trying this out. Go on our Facebook, go on the YouTube, tell us what you think. Tell us what you think about my review. Hopefully you enjoyed it. But that's everything we've got for today. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Dual Bus Design, Excelsior Games and Comics, and Sound G Entertainment. And as always, I'll see you in the Nerdverse.